Well, hello there, Jimmy J's here, and I wanted to shoot a quick video here about what do you do when your company starts getting some bad press, right? It's inevitable as your company starts to grow. You're going to have some times where there's some bad press or some bad things that come out about your company or your product or your service or whatever. And once you've been around the industry for a while, you start to see this for what it really is. But if you're new, or if it's your first time being with a company that starts to experience some growth, it might be a little bit off-putting the first time you hear about some bad press. So what the heck do you do about it? Well, there's 3 steps or 3 things I'd like you to know. The first one is change your perspective. What do I mean by change your perspective? Well, a lot of how we handle things is really just based on our opinion of it or our perspective of it. So the first piece of perspective I would give you is, when did this start happening, right? When did this negative news start happening? And I bet you it probably started happening as soon as your company hit the map. Meaning that your company started all of a sudden having record-breaking sales, right? And now all of a sudden you're starting to do, tens of millions of dollars a year or hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Certainly if you're getting close to or passing the $1 billion a year mark, you're going to start having some negative publicity because you're making waves, and that doesn't make everyone else happy, right? So the only way for you to not make waves, the only way for you to not have negative, reviews and things like that out there is by staying small. It's literally the only way. So change your perspective, and rather than saying, oh no, all this negative news is happening, now what? Think of it as a positive. Think about it as, well, it looks like we're on the map now. It looks like we're big enough that companies are going to start taking shots at us. The second thing I would say is you need to understand frequency illusion, also sometimes called recency illusion, and you can look this up. But essentially what it is that once your brain becomes aware of something, you start to notice it more often. You start to notice it everywhere. A great example of this is if you decided that you wanted a certain type of car, right? You're like, I want a BMW, or I want a Cadillac, or I want a Mercedes, fill in the blank. And as soon as you put that into your consciousness, all of a sudden, bam, you start seeing black BMWs everywhere, or white Cadillacs everywhere, or whatever it is that you want. You start noticing it everywhere. Now, did all of a sudden a whole bunch of people just go buy those? No, they've always been there, but now you're just starting to notice it more. It's called frequency illusion. And this works with positive things, and it also works with negative things. So when you're hearing, when you first got in your company, you probably started seeing all of these positive things. You started noticing things everywhere, and you're like, oh my gosh, look, our product is, on this reality TV show in the background, it's there. You start to notice all these positive things. Well, it also works negatively. So all of a sudden, you see some negative posts, or somebody in your team tells you, oh, have you heard this negative thing? Well, now you start seeing it everywhere, right? And you think that everyone else is seeing it everywhere, and you don't want to go grow your business because you feel like everybody, all the prospects out there, you're going to call them and they're going to say, well, haven't you seen that YouTube video? Or what about this? Or what about that bad review site? But the truth is that it's not everywhere. You're just seeing it everywhere. And likely, a whole bunch of people that are on your Facebook friends list are probably also in the same company as you. So now you start seeing it from all these different angles. You think it's everywhere, but really it isn't. All right. The rest of the world is not following and not looking at these MLM blogs and looking at these YouTube videos to the same degree that you are. So recognize frequency illusion. And the third one is character versus reputation. And it's one of my favorite sayings is that character is what God knows of you. Reputation is what the people think about you. Okay, so don't be so worried about reputation. Don't be so worried about what other people think. It doesn't really matter what they think. Worry about character. Worry about what is actually going on, and what is the character of you. What's your character, right? What's the character of the people that you're following, right? Do they have people's best interests in heart, all right? And if they do, then you've got great character, and they've got great character, and you don't have to worry so much about the mudslinging. The next thing I would say is consider the source, which is a nice segue from the mudslinging. What do I mean by consider the source? Well, what I mean by this is, where is this negativity coming from, right? If you are all of a sudden, selling $1 billion in, shakes, right? There's going to be some other industry that's upset about that, right? If you all of a sudden are disrupting, like the shampoo industry, right? Well, there's going to be probably people that are upset about that, So if the source is, well, hey, there's this, there's this, I don't know, breakfast cereal company and they're upset about shakes, right? Or if it's like there's this salon and they're upset about the shampoo and they think it's horrible. Well, it's in their best interest to think that it's horrible, right? So if they're saying you shouldn't buy that, you should buy the stuff that, I'm selling in my business. You see what I'm saying? So let me give you some actual online examples of this. All right. So this is it's called Unbiased Review of Isagenix, and it's negative. Here's all the horrible things why you should never, ever drink this, and I just really don't think you should. Conclusion, right? And this is my unbiased opinion. Well, then you get to the bottom. It says, I teach you how to do it with my 21-day life transformation. So if you click on that, I bet you if you scroll, you'll find a buy button. Buy now. Okay. So if they're saying, this other thing is so horrible, well, just keep scrolling. And I bet you there's going to be a buy button somewhere. So this person owns a salon. It says, hey, Monat is terrible. Never buy it. Blah, 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 blah. At the very end, where's the studies? What happens when users stop using Monat? Will their hair fall out in clumps? I'd like to see some long-term studies done on large sample sizes before I can entertain it. I mean, you just have to use your brain a little bit. Like, can you imagine me going into Superstore and being like, excuse me, I'd like to, could you give me a recommendation on some shampoo? And the person working there says, well, yeah, I think this one here is pretty good. I use this one. And I say, oh, well, when I stop using it, is my hair going to fall out in clumps? I mean, wouldn't that be the most ridiculous question? And then they go, well, I don't think so. And I say, well, I'd like to see some long-term studies done on large sample sizes before I can entertain using this shampoo. And then I march out of the store. Isn't that just the most ridiculous statement you've heard in your life, right? So when people start saying things that aren't adding up, you got to think, well, maybe the person who's saying this owns a salon and they're trying, to get you to buy something else rather than their best product, right? Kangen water, is it a scam? Horrible. This is just a terrible company. You shouldn't buy anything from them. Here's the different problems. What's so much better? Is it a scam? Oh, here we are at the end. If you really want to be successful and do it from the comfort of your own home, then I would suggest taking a look at this all in one platform, right? So right at the bottom, they're selling their own thing. So consider the source. Please consider the source, right? Is this coming from a reputable source, or is it just somebody who's selling something else? And selling something else might be somebody saying, hey, I'm trying to make a claim against this company so that I can get a lawsuit. As soon as your company starts making more money, that kind of stuff unfortunately happens. People start saying, well, hey, if I win a lawsuit, I could make some money, or hey, if I could get people away from that business opportunity, they could come over to this one, or hey, if I can convince people not to use this product, and they'll buy my product. So just consider the source. It doesn't mean that all sources, are going to be bad, and that everybody, who's saying anything negative, that they all must be horrible people or something like that. I'm just saying, consider the source and don't get so worked up in it, because again, we talked about that frequency bias, right? Well, here's the thing. There's probably, 10,000 good videos for every one bad video. Right? It's just the one bad video is getting all of the attention. So number 2 is consider the source. And number 3 is be intentional. And what do I mean by be intentional? Well, this is really of the entire thing here. The first 2 are just mindset. The third one is what you actually do. So here's what you actually do. And you want to teach this to people in your team. Teach your team to be intentional. Teach your team to not get caught up and stuck in all of this stuff, okay? When people start going on little Facebook fights and Facebook rants, right? Somebody writes something negative and you jump in trying to defend, right? Saying, no, my company's actually good, or the product is actually great. You're just adding fuel to the fire. Number 2, the second thing that you're doing is Facebook is going to show that negative post more often because you have commented on it, okay? As soon as Facebook sees lots of likes or angry faces or shares or people commenting back and forth, Facebook thinks, oh, people must be interested in this. And so now Facebook starts sharing that negative post. So rather than engaging, rather than trying to defend it or fight it or whatever, I know you're trying to help. I know you're trying to defend the honor of your company, but don't. You don't need to. All right. Just focus on putting your attention into the right spot. So number one, ignore. Okay, when you see that negative junk, just ignore it. Realize that if your business is going to get huge, if your company is going to go global, if your company is going to start doing hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in sales, it's not going to happen without some negative press. Right? Other companies are not going to like this. Other people are not going to like this, and they're going to come out of the woodwork. So number one, ignore. Number two is if you have some people who consistently are doing negative things and writing negative stuff, block it and hide them. Okay, there's a little button on Facebook. Just click hide, and it'll say hide all posts from this person or hide posts like this one. And you can just stop seeing the negative people who were doing it just to get a reaction. And the third thing is comment elsewhere. Okay, don't worry about this post. Don't worry about the negative post. Leave it alone. Block it, hide it, whatever. All right. And then go find a positive post somewhere, right? Choose to feed the positive. There's an old tale that said there's two wolves inside of each person that are fighting. There's an evil wolf and a positive wolf, and they're fighting. They say, well, which one wins? And the answer is whichever one you feed. So don't feed the negativity, go feed the positive. Go out there intentionally, go to some of the people inside of your downline, go find some other positive posts, whether it's about your company or whether it's just something positive, and go find it and comment on it, like it, share it, and feed the positive, okay? It's gonna do a lot more for you than trying to fight the negative. Right? Just starve the negative by don't giving it your attention, because that's all that they want is your attention. Stay focused, stay positive, and keep growing your business, because I'll tell you what, all those haters out there, anybody who's saying these negative things, I bet you that on all of their all the negative stuff that they say, they're not going to pay for your dreams. The only thing that's going to pay for your dreams is you going out there and doing the work, and getting distracted by all the negative stuff that's out there is not going to help you do that. So ignore that, choose who you feed, and keep chasing your dreams, because I bet you they're worth it.